Message is being broadcast by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere.
Discovery Houston, 20 seconds to LOS T-Drift.
Contact, I am cleared orbit. The first message that comes to you is you are a divine being. You matter. You count. You come from realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
The vast stretches of the unknown and the unanswered and the unfinished still far outstrip our collective comprehension.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Root.
Broadcasting from a shack on a hill in the mossy creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. I'm Joe Roop, and this is Lighting the Void. We got a super late start, but Jock is with us. It's Wednesday, September the 11th tonight. Jock Doubleday is on the program, and we're going to be discussing the Bosnian pyramids as well. I have a little bit of a bone to pick, so we're going to be discussing that as well as, the theory that the Earth was constructed possibly by an advanced race. Now, this is in the minds of all of us in the fields of the fringe and the alternative news and research area, and we need to really look into this. And Jock has done some incredible research on this and has some incredible footage as well on YouTube and other places, and it's going to be really cool to talk to him about this. Real quick, the show is brought to you by GetTheTea.com. Don't forget to stay cleansed from all that stuff that they're spraying on you, This will help you. It won't actually keep it from happening, but it will help you from intruders. That's what we're just going to call them, intruders. How about all that? And then CBD oil, ancientlifeoil.com. Make sure you go to ancientlifeoil.com, get the only CBD oil on the planet that's worth getting, and prepare with thefringe.com. So we had a little bit of, so yesterday, you got to pick your battles. And me being an Aries and a fire guy, like there's certain things that I just won't stand for. I just won't. Even if it's in the presence of strangers, it's hard for me to bite my tongue. That's who I am. And, we had Tim on the program, and Tim Doyle from UFO Seekers, who's backed and supported by us because we believe in his research and how much work he's done. He's been on here a few times. He's trying to get something together when it comes to ufology and research in a big way and do it the right way. And it seems like every time this happens, or we get in this mode to where they take his research and other people not only try to use it for content, but accreditation, right? So he was supposed to be on the CW, which we announced when he was on the show. And instead of letting everybody know, how should I word this? Instead of letting everybody know, hey, this is Tim Doyle, UFO Seekers footage, he's the one that went up to Tickaboo Peak. Here's the guy that did the real research, got the real footage and all of that. What happens is these TV shows and YouTube channels and whatever, they just use other people's content, and they kind of trick you, right? They pretend like they're going to give you the credit. As long as they get the license, that's all they really want. And I'm not sure how everything went down. All I know is from what Tim's telling me, and I can tell you right away that they're using Tim's footage, Tim Doyle from UFO Seekers footage of Area 51, and giving it to Ryan Sprague. And I don't know Ryan from Adam. I really don't. But I guess he's okay with that. I mean, it could just be somebody else's work, and somebody else can take all the credit for it, right? That's how this stuff works. This is what's wrong with ufology. This is what's going on. This is what Tim's been trying to tell you. And it's kind of ironic that it just happened to him that way, because it's almost like a total validation, and it makes folks just not want to do this kind of stuff anymore. Ufology is in trouble. It is a celebrity bang bang thing. It has nothing to do with finding out what's really going on with the stuff in the air. All it's just celebrity, bang, bang, corporate, stupid. It sucks. It sucks. And you got one guy out there trying to fix it and a few other guys. And what happens? People use their content and they get the license because that's really all they want, right? And then once they do that, then they can give a credit to another face because I guess it's just better for marketing, quote, marketing that way. Anyways, I'm a little frustrated, a little pissed off, a little validated too about all the spats I've been in ufology and people that claim that they're out for the truth and all this other, but they're not. They're just trying to step on folks to get where they need to go. And it's sad. And one of my really good friends and a really good researcher and a really good videographer just got stepped on while somebody else takes credit for his work. That's the truth. Go see it for yourself. It's on the television. So anyways, I don't want to talk any more about that because I feel like I'm going to freak out and like say something stupid. So I want to be respectable to my guest. Tim, brother, I'm so sorry, man. But there it is. There it is. So we got Jock Doubleday with us. He's an American writer, researcher, stone worker, and videographer for 16 months in 2014 and 2015. And for an additional 3 months in 2017, he worked as an official videographer for the Archaeological Park and Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun Foundation, a Bosnian NGO nonprofit organization, and he has written extensively about various features of the Bosnian Pyramid Mega complex and other ancient sites around the world. And if you go check out the links, I think you'll see some really cool stuff there. I know the one link that I went to today was actually the WordPress link, which is whobuilttheearth.wordpress.com, which I am very interested in. That's kind of what I want to talk about. And thanks, Jacques, for coming on the program. Even though we're late, hey, man, you showing up means a lot to me. I'm glad you're here. I really am. I know you're probably just working hard, you know?
Well, I'm really glad to be here too, and Joe. And it's just I've been doing so many interviews on the Bosnian pyramids, and I think it's because in the last year and a half, and I think it's because I spent 23 months in this little village, Visoko, which is where the heart of the pyramid complex is. It extends beyond that little town, but pretty far. In fact, we haven't really found the end of it yet, the edges of it, but because it keeps going. But living in that village, and just getting up every day, and every single day I'd have my camera with me. I'd be out in the field, and if I wasn't making videos for the Archaeological Park Foundation, that were asked, that Semir asked me to make specific videos, then I'd be making my own videos and just talking and just slamming YouTube with a video a day or a video every couple days, because I really wanted to get the word out about this place because it's so amazing. I mean, the tourists are amazing. They're great. They fund the project, because that's the only money that really gets put into it. There's no big billionaires behind this archaeology. Semir funds it with his personal money, but it's the tourists. But most tourists come out and they just, they take a selfie in front of a pyramid, and then they go home, and that's their contribution to the science, and that's nice and everything. But to me, it's like, I never even thought about getting the selfie with Semir. I was there for 23 months, and never even occurred to me, because I just want to get him talking in front of a pyramid about what's happening, because it's so incredible what's going on in that complex. And then when you see that it extends beyond what's understood to be the complex, and it just keeps going, and the building never stops, the terraforming never stops, you're like, where does it end? I mean, it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing what's happening in the avant-garde. Yeah, like you're saying, there's a few people out there who are really on the cutting edge of finding out the truth about our past on Earth and the past of all the advanced races that have lived here, the mosh pit of civilizations. And we're just kind of like, doing our best, getting our research out there. So that's what's happening on 9/11.
Yeah, it's a good day to talk about, I guess, finding the truth about things and research. It's just certain things. I'm having a hard time letting this go, Jacques, and I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but when you put your life into something and then somebody just puts their face on it and says it's theirs, right? That's just, Doesn't seem right to me. And, you know, when I had John Anthony West on the program, and I talked to a lot of other researchers that go against academia or even the mainstream corporate world kind of view or ideas of science and history, it's either you're battling mainstream academia or you're battling the corporate marketing, political stuff that's happening all the time. You're battling both. Have you experienced any of that yourself?
Well, then there's the other battle, which might even be tougher on the alternative researchers, which is other alternative researchers
taking
are
that stuff, yeah,
giving you a hard time, you know, because it is a battle of egos out there. It's like who's got the best book, who's got the book out first, who said it first, who discovered it first. So it's like this cult of celebrity, as I was talking to you about before we got on air. This is a huge problem in the alternative sciences because people seem to be following the figure, the person, opposed to the research that the person's doing. And so if the person goes off the rails in his research, his followers still follow him and say he's awesome, and they just ignore the fact that he just went off the rails. It's like Graham Hancock was my hero until he went off the rails with the Bosnian Pyramid Complex, and as soon as he did that, I called him out on the science of it, and because I feel like we have to go with the science. We can never just go, oh well, he might have said some things that don't make sense scientifically, but I love him. It's like, who cares if you love him? I still respect him. I just think that he's wrong about the Bosnian Pyramid Complex. He came out a few years ago for 3 days, got a personal tour, and he sort of memory holed it, and I sort of called him out on that, and he was really pissed, and he called up Semir, and I was still working for Semir at the time, and he almost got me fired because he was really mad, and I just came at him like a bulldog, because after that, he came after me, and I said, you know what, I'm coming after you. Because we got to get the science clear. The record has to be clear. It's not about you and me and Semir. It's about the scientific record, So that's what we have to fight for.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not trying to judge anybody either. I've never been in that position where somebody comes to you and just offers you the chance to be the big author or the big researcher or whatever. So I can imagine that it's tempting, and you got to keep a certain, I guess you got to, like you're saying, you got to keep a certain image up or something like that. But at the end of the day, I really believe that the research that people like Graham Hancock does, the research that you do, or like Tim Doyle, a friend of mine that does ufology research, that stuff belongs to the people that want to know the truth, right? Like the people that really want to know the truth, not the people that care about who's more famous or whatever. And I think a lot of times, some people just don't want to be wrong because they've been viewed as right so much about stuff that they can't just say I'm wrong out in public about something,
Right. Well, to me, when I was in high school, growing up, my heroes were, just my friends who were my heroes were the guys who were the geeks, the guys who were like the honor students. I wasn't like, oh, that football player who's the quarterback is my hero. That wasn't it at all. I like the guys who were smart, and that's always been the way it is. So it's like, to me, I never quite get this worship of the sports figures, because if the sports figure is a smart dude, awesome. But if he's just a guy with an IQ of 50 and he's out there dunking basketballs, I'm like, really, what's the point, really? Can we have somebody who's at least articulate, who's going to dunk a basketball? So it's like, I just like people who are smart, because if we don't have smart people in the leadership roles in society, we're pretty much screwed.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. We definitely don't want dumb people there, for sure. I think that way about like Rogan too. A lot of people don't like him. Everybody's got their own opinions on him. But if he'll stand in the face of any celebrity, it doesn't matter who it is, and if he doesn't agree with something, he doesn't just go at him. He'll ask him, why you think that way, and present. He'll go against anybody. And I think we need more people like that, whether you agree with them or not. Right? We need more people that will be that way, that have intelligence and that can make arguments for certain folks, because again, man, we all want to know the truth. And when it comes to your research, what I've looked at is you're uncovering a lot of stuff that really just shakes up the paradigm even more when it comes to what's going on in our history. I mean, it seems like every time, even when we get an alternative narrative, as you just mentioned, it changes even more. And I'm wondering what your view is, and you can start wherever you want to on this. What is the biggest evidence that tells you that we were created by an advanced race in your mind? I mean, I don't have to be factual. It could just be your intuition on some of the stuff that you found.
Oh, you mean, are you talking about the genetic manipulation in the past?
Right.
Well, the reason I'm laughing is because I don't really have any particular research that I've done on that very specific subject. All I've done is sort of rely on the fact that Michael Tellinger wrote The Slave Species of God, and which posits that we were manipulated, tinkered with, I guess you'd say, by an advanced race in the past, made to be a slave to mine gold. Now, I just sort of go with that. Although we might have been tinkered with by many different races, and Corey Goode and David Wilcock Wilcock has basically promoted Corey Goode's idea of the 22 genetic races, that are experiments on Earth by insectoid ETs and other, I call them ETs, even though some of them live on or in the Earth, inside the Earth. You got the ant people who brought the Hopi down, and their experiment. In other words, the Native Americans are the ant people's experiment, let's say. And so each race has its own other, quote, ET or inner Earth or extra dimensional or whatever you want to say race, and they could be all of those. They could be off-world ETs who also live inside the Earth, who also can go extra dimensional, So each race on Earth, each specific race that we sort of bundle together in the human race, in the term the human race, has its own, according to Corey Goode, and then promoted by David Wilcock, has its own master, I guess you'd say, master genetic engineers who are just seeing how things go and trying to keep the races separate. And it's pretty interesting. Now, that's Corey Goode's intel, and I've listened to so much stuff that Corey Goode has done, and he keeps being corroborated by other whistleblowers of the secret space program. And these guys who lead disparate lives, they're not like all pals who go out to strip clubs together. They're people with integrity, who have families, who live in different parts of the world. They're coming out being whistleblowers, and they keep corroborating each other with possibly slightly different language, but they're all saying the same thing. And so that corroboration makes me feel that Corey Goode is correct, in which case, if he's correct, there are 22 separate human genetic experiments going on, and we are an experiment on Earth. And then that makes Earth sort of like a stage or a theater where the surface of the Earth is a stage for the other much more advanced races. We're just seeing how things go. Are they going to evolve? Are the human beings' consciousness going to evolve? Which race will dominate? I guess it's like a big game to them. But see, this aspect of the past hasn't really captured me as much as the actual surface of the Earth, and my presumed ideas, or some ideas that we can sort of induce or deduce about the interior of the Earth. This like the rocks themselves, the layers themselves of the Earth, the being itself, Gaia, Terra, whatever you want to call it. This is the thing that really grabs me.
All right, well, let's talk about that then, because I'm probably going to 100% disagree with you on Corey Goode and Wilcock. But what I will say is I am open to a lot of things, and I don't know a lot of things. And so maybe you will open my mind to a little bit more of what I consider non-evidential narratives, right? So for instance, you talk about a new discipline that's called chemonology. Can you tell me about that a little bit?
Yeah. In Bosnia, the word for stone is kamen. They pronounce the E, K-A-M-E-N. They pronounce the E like an A, so it's really kamen. So, but I just call it commonology. So it sounds like you're saying the word common, C-O-M-M-O-N. That's sort of funny, but anyway, it's a study of stone, but it's a specific kind of study of stone. It's a study of ancient artificial stone, because we have basically three different types of study of stone. So we have geology, right, which is the study of natural stone. Then we have lithics, which is the study of worked stone, like arrowheads, for instance, let's say. And then I just created. Now, I didn't create the discipline because there are already people studying artificial stone all over the world, and they've been doing that for decades. And it's already sprung up on its own. It's just that nobody calls it something. They don't call it a separate discipline. They're just going, hey, look, I found some ancient artificial concrete. That these stones are artificial. In other words, that they're not carved from bedrock. Sorry,
I was having some technical difficulties. Again, it's got to be the energy, right? You believe in that stuff? So you're saying that the way the stones are carved, the way they're structured, was not just, are you saying that it was not just nature, that it was designed that way by differently than what we think? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for instance, the building blocks of some of the building blocks, at least, and maybe all of them, but so far we've come across some what we call stones, but what I just call ancient artificial concrete. It's like a recipe, and it's molded. So they mixed their recipe of ingredients. We call it limestone today. They carved it from the limestone bedrock. Really, did they? Or was the bedrock itself on the Giza Plateau built? In other words, to me, it's obvious that the bedrock. Well, when you get side sections of it, because they have tunnels below and they have stairs going down to tunnels, and you can see the sides of the interior of the quote bedrock of the Giza Plateau, and you're like, that's just concrete, man. That's sectioned concrete. That's not a bedrock. So they clearly, to me at least, they built the Giza Plateau as a stable platform for their pyramids, and also to keep it above the floodwaters. I mean, that's speculation as far as the reasons behind it. But to me, it's obvious that if you're going to build pyramids and sphinxes and whatever else they had there before some of them were dismantled, you're going to want a really, really, really stable, earthquake-proofed, flood-proofed platform. And that's what they built. I mean, to me, it's obvious. To other people, it's like, well, you must be crazy. Well, okay, well, fine. I'm just going to keep doing the research and writing articles. You can come to them if you want, or ignore them. So right. I just try to stay out of the debates, because there's just too much mystery to engage, and I just love engaging the mystery and not getting on Facebook too much and having somebody yell at me. It just doesn't go anywhere. If they're going to offer evidence, then let's have some evidence. I have two articles, just really quickly, and then I'll let you talk, because I know you got things to say. But two articles, one's called Evidence is King, and the other's called Science is a Harsh Mistress. And that title's based on, of course, Robert Heinlein's book, The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. And the key sentence in both of those articles is science is a conversation among persons with evidence. So when people are on Facebook and they just start saying things, I call them the just saying things people. And then you've got people who just offer a link. They offer a photo. They offer an actual, they say, here's a video I shot, or here's some data. Check this data out. That's evidence. And it might be wrong, it might be right, it might be, who knows, maybe we'll never know, but at least it's evidence. But on Facebook generally, and social media generally, it's just people just saying things.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that too. So that's one of the biggest things that frustrates me, right? And you brought up people earlier that I feel like that's what they're doing, right? When it comes to evidence, evidence is everything to me when it comes to this stuff, and it should be. Now, when I'm talking about spirituality or experiences that you have, that's different because you don't need evidence for that. But when we talk about history and aliens and UFOs and stuff like that, what's really going on, evidence should be the number one thing that we focus on, not what somebody said or their story. And what you say is that what many people don't realize is that the pyramids in Bosnia were hard to see because they're just built on different materials. And you say that different materials that are used in Egypt. So everything is built out of heated clay as a binder or soft clay, kind of like as an earth mitigation device. So have you had any other geologists confirm this for you, or do you just know because you did your own testing and all that stuff?
All right, just quickly, the soft clay in the Bosnian pyramids is the earthquake mitigation clay, and whether the ancients meant it to be earthquake mitigation layers in their structures, we don't know, but that's just, to me, it's something that's obvious to me, but that doesn't mean that I'm right. It just means that, and other people say this. So you've got the hard-baked clay stone layers, made of baked textured clay stone blocks that are clearly artificial blocks that have flat bottoms and textured surfaces, and it's like, wow, this is amazing and so beautiful, and they're placed right next to each other, and little bit of space for the earthquake mitigating clay, soft clay in between them, and above them there'll be a meter or so, or 3 meters of soft earthquake mitigating clay. So the clay seems to be the magic substance for the ancients, and that's also at least in the Bosnian pyramids, Bosnian pyramid complex, and that's also the binder that they used. They heated up clay as the binder for the concrete on the Pyramid of the Sun. So clay is the key to all of their structures there, and it looks so natural because they covered the concrete, for instance, on the Pyramid of the Sun with a really, really thick layer of soft construction clay. When I say construction clay, I mean it might look to a geologist like it's just some natural clay that formed over millions of years or something and covered whatever's below it, but it's not, because it's pure. There's no stones in it. There's no other materials. It's always just pure thin layers of soft construction clay, and that covered the concrete, and the concrete blocks are obviously artificial. So if anyone ever saw those, they'd go, oh, that's artificial. But because the construction clay covered it by a meter or more, and then the soil that had accumulated over thousands of years from the little vegetation that was on the pyramid covered the construction clay, then you've got a layer that it looks so natural. I mean, the soil is natural, the trees are natural, so of course people are going to think it's just a mountain or a hill. They're not going to think it's a pyramid. So yeah, the natural, let's say, materials of this complex and the way that the softer clay was laid on top of everything made it so that no one ever suspected that this was a pyramid complex.
Gotcha. Okay. So, what is it in your mind that you think the pyramids were designed for, right? So I've had a lot of people on here tell me they're water pumps, they're initiations for king's chambers, they're this, they're that. And I understand a building can be used for even cargo cults later on and stuff, but what do you think they're designed for primarily? What do you think they're there for?
You're talking about pyramids all around the earth?
That's right.
Well, I just as an intro to this answer, I'm just going to mention that I emailed Semir Osmanagic, who discovered the pyramids in Bosnia, and I emailed him, I don't know, three or 4 years ago. I mean, I email him like once a week, but I just sent him a specific email. I said, how many pyramids do you estimate are on the planet? And I'm asking him this because before he discovered the Bosnian pyramids, he had been out adventuring and writing books about pyramids in different civilizations, and particularly the Maya civilization. and other civilizations down in South and Central America. For years and years and years, he was the real-life Indiana Jones. And his book, The World of the Maya, which anybody can find as a PDF in full on the internet, is, if you read that PDF, it's like an Indiana Jones adventure tale, except it's real. So it makes it even better because it's a real thing happening. His life story is so incredible. So anyway, I wrote to him. I said, Samir, how many pyramids do you think are on the planet in total? He said 100,000 plus. I was like, what the 100,000 plus? Because, you know, the universities make us think that there's a few pyramids in Egypt, Central America, and South America, and they're built by primitive people who are, you know, sacrificing children, you know, and ripping their hearts out, and they're just primitive structures that just happen to spring up for who knows what reason. And they're for rituals, and it's always the same. It's rituals, ceremonies, you know, it's a ritual space. And really, they're going to put that much work into this huge, massive, I mean, it's insane how much work these things were and how sophisticated they were. So no, primitive people didn't make them. So then the question is, like you say, what are they for? But to me, it's clear that they're multi-purpose energy machines, but we can say that now as if it's, you know, obvious, only because Christopher Dunn came along and said they're energy machines 20 years ago, and his book came out about 20 years ago. And it's the pyramid, the Giza pyramids as power plants, something like that. So because we have him, you know, this kind of like very downplayed, non-celebrity cult figure, just straight ahead mechanical engineering kind of guy saying this, we can go, oh, yeah, and it slowly seeps into the general consciousness. Yeah, pyramids are energy machines. But then you go, energy for what? Then 2017 comes along, and you've got Goran Marjanovic, who's a Serbian electrical engineer, who has been to the Bosnian Pyramid Complex many, many times doing studies, energetic studies, in different ways and different aspects of the complex. He's on top of the Pyramid of the Sun. He is inspecting a beam that's coming out of the Pyramid of the Sun that has been found independently by 4 different scientific research teams from 4 different countries. And he's there going, okay, let's see. I want to find out what the shape of this beam is. Because one would assume that a beam coming out of a pyramid is going to just be a columnar shape. And so it's 9 meters wide. The teams all detected the same 9 meter wide energy beam, 28 kilohertz, coming out of the Pyramid of the Sun. So that's an electrical measurement, right? Mm-hmm. And they could find the very specific edge, the circular edge of this beam, where, you know, you move a foot to the right and it's not there anymore, and then you move back and there it is again. So they knew how wide it was. They knew exactly where it was. Goran Marjanovic comes out and he says, "I'm going to see if I can do some further testing." And he tested the shape of it, and he took a microlight drone up with a whole bunch of different, very sophisticated measuring devices hanging from it, and he just flew this microlight drone back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, then went up a few meters, back and forth, went up a few meters, back and forth. So he got a reading of the shape of the beam, and the shape of the beam is repeating ellipsoids, which means that from the side it looks like a double helix, but it's a 3D double helix shape spiraling out of the Pyramid of the Sun. And then he goes, not only is that the shape of it, but we have a shadow detection of scalar energy. Now he says you can't measure scalar energy, scalar waves, what Tesla called non-Hertzian waves or stationary waves, directly with our instruments that we have. Homo sapiens, we're not that advanced to measure scalar waves yet, but he says you can detect a shadow of it. So let's say that you were a caveman and you didn't have the way to measure light. Well, you can see a shadow, and then you can know something's out there. It's light. It's creating a shadow. So he found the shadow of a scalar wave, essentially the effect of a scalar wave. And so scalar waves travel, he says, 20 billion times faster than the speed of light. And I said, wow, I interviewed him. You can find the video interview with Goran on Bosnian Pyramid's YouTube channel. And I say you, I mean anybody listening. And he said that there's actually, that the 20 billion figure is the lower limit of the speed of scalar waves. He said, in other words, he said that the speed of scalar waves through the universe is essentially infinite. And I asked him that specifically. I said, what exactly do you mean? Do you mean infinite? He said, yes, that's our reality. Now, I can go into specifics about what exactly a scalar wave, the function of a scalar wave is, how it looks in the universe if you want to, and it's going to involve Tesla. So if that's something you want to go into, I can do that with a metaphor that makes it really, really clear what's happening.
Yeah, because if you can make it the simple, that'd be great. Because if you can give me a visual on this, I think I'm starting to understand what you're saying, though. But yes, please, go up. By all means, go ahead.
Well, the reason I wanted to, I've done 2 interviews with Goran that are written interviews, and they're both called The Scalar Conundrum. One's called Who is the Real Nikola Tesla? That's the subtitle for that one. And the other one is, just go check out The Scalar Conundrum on my site. Then there's the video interview with him. And the reason I'm so interested in it is because I don't have a scientific mind like some of these guys do, these engineers. I'm a poet, That's my essential nature. So I'm always going for the metaphor. And I kept asking Goran, whose English is not quite perfect, and my Serbian is 0. So I was going, so what do you mean what by this? So I'm trying to get to the reality of the hardest thing to possibly measure in the universe with a guy who doesn't quite speak English that as well as I would hope that he would, but still pretty good. But so there was the language problem. Then there was me going, I'm just a poet, man. Can you put it in some language that I can understand? With this, I would test out metaphors on him. I go, what about this metaphor? What about this metaphor? And I finally hit on one that he said yes to, which was an accordion. So basically what he said was that Tesla's ether. So Tesla's told us, and the universities have completely ignored this. They completely poo-poo it. Tesla told us that the ether exists and that's the fabric of the universe. There's a metaphor for you. Okay, now any professor in science in today's academia will say the ether does not exist. And then so if you put on your test the ether exists, you fail. So don't go to the universities in the sciences if you want to actually, win at learning something, because you're not going to do it there. It's all nonsense. Sorry, they're not bad people. The professors are just telling you what the textbooks told them was true. So, but Tesla's ether is the fabric of everything that exists, right? Then we have scalar waves, or Tesla called them non-Hertzian waves or stationary waves. They're also known as standing waves. And he didn't have the term scalar wave back then, as far as I know. He didn't use that term. But that's what I'm using, scalar wave. And that's what Goran Marjanovic, the Serbian electrical engineer, uses. And this wave, this energy, which comes out of the Pyramid of the Sun in this 9-meter wide beam, and comes out of mountains too, by the way. Crystalline material creates a scalar function, and the shape of the mountain or the pyramid is directing these beams. So then we have 100,000 plus pyramids directing scalar beams all around the world. You're like, well, wow, well, what's happening? Well, those scalar beams are acting as an accordion. And so they're performing the function of an accordion, and they're compressing and rarefying the ether, compressing and rarefying. They're not sending a signal from A to B like light or radio. So if you have a message that you need to send to somebody across the galaxy and you use light, you'd be dead a billion years before it got to, some other galaxy that you're trying to send it to. So instead of that, you just use scalar energy, and it essentially, the accordion is just compressing and rarefying, and somehow it means that your message can be where you are, and then essentially instantaneously where they are, with just like an action of the accordion energy of the scalar wave. It's compressing and rarefying the ether, and it just goes, and then it's done. I mean, so that's as close as I can get to an explanation from my layperson's perspective.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about how this would work, how this would work if time doesn't become a factor, because even if it compresses, it still has to travel, right? I mean, how can it immediately affect something light years away, or affect it faster than the speed of light if you don't put the equation of time in there? That's the confusing part. Even if it does work like an accordion, or what you're describing, that's what's boggling my mind. Now, I'm not saying that it's not true or anything, but I do think that we have to figure out a way to measure this stuff scientifically. I know there's something to, for example, biogeometry. Some of the stuff that Wilcock used to talk about in the beginning, like when I first started listening to what he was saying, that stuff, I believe in because I've experienced it. But how important do you think it is that we figure out a way to find a way to measure this for real, scientifically?
Well, yeah, this is really super important. And Goran Marjanovic is on the forefront of that. And if anybody wants to go to my articles, The Scalar Conundrum, it's a series, 2-part series, you can get in contact with Goran. If anybody in your audience, has a scientific mind, if you have a scientific mind, which, like I say, I don't, but you can have a conversation with him on a scientific level, and you can go, oh. Because if I have a conversation with him on a scientific level, I go, I don't know what the F you're talking about, man. Make it simple for me. Talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old. So it's like if somebody has a scientific mind, get in contact with Goran, and you can get the download, okay? So that's something that I can't get because I'm writing poetry. So that's what people should do. Go find Goran. That's what I want to do is be a link between the folks who are watching basketball and going, wow, that's amazing. He made that layup, and Goran, and go, maybe you, instead of watching fucking basketball, should go talk to Goran Marjanovic about what pyramids are for, because that would be more fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't give you the language warning, but that's okay. I get your point. Yeah, right. But I get your point. I feel that way too about when I talk about esoteric things, right? When I talk about the out-of-body experience and even magic, where people have these weird ideas of magic, that it's like rubbing two sticks together and you're going to manifest something. These are all based on my experiences. And if you do a little bit of study yourself, you don't need a scientist to confirm it. But I think what you're talking about is pretty important, because if that's real, then that would change the game for everything. The SETI Institute, you name it. It would change the game all the way around. We could fix a lot of things on this planet. So yeah, I definitely understand your frustrations with that a little bit. I do.
Well, the SETI Institute is searching for radio waves, and they're searching for civilizations way out there. Mm-hmm. When they could just look in the interior of the Earth and go, hey, how's it going? I mean, because presumably there are, civilizations inside the Earth. I mean, if we got a hollow Earth, it'd be a great place to live. There's no cosmic rays. You don't have to worry about global flooding that keeps happening. You don't have to worry about asteroid impacts. The list goes on about how awesome it would be to live inside an Earth, and all you need is a light source. I mean, a light heat source to grow crops and to see what you're doing down there. And presumably they figured that out. So, and I think that we just got a shot from the Juno spacecraft showing that it looks like there's a hole in the south pole of Jupiter. So it's like, well, there it is. You got a hole in the friggin' planet, and it seems like the same scale, same size hole ratio-wise to the planet itself as the hole that or the space that you see on the top and the bottom of the Earth when the satellites go over, and then they blank out a space so we can't see what's there, that it's about the same ratio. In other words, the whole in this planet is the same ratio to the whole size of our planet as it is in Jupiter. From an eyeball perspective, I just eyeballed it. I said, yeah, it's about the same. So if we got hollow planets, there's probably a reason why they're hollow. I mean, and it makes way more sense to build a home with walls than it just to live on the outside of your home. You know, why are we living on the outside of our home? We should probably go inside. So SETI should, pack up and go to take a trip inside the Earth and find some ETs who aren't really ETs because they're living in the friggin' Earth.
All right, so we can talk. I want to discuss that with you too, but we do got to take a break. Since we got a late start, we missed one, but that's all right. We'll take this one. We'll be right back with the Jock Doubleday. Also, you can put your questions in the chat room too. It's a Fringe FM chat. There's quite a few people over here talking about this, and you can call in as well. 1-800-588-0335 or 501-424-5130. Stay with us.
I love magic, and on Lighting the Void, each and every week, you will get to hear shows about magic, mysticism, and many other subjects that stretch your mind and imagination. So when I got my mind on the magic and the magic on my mind, I listened to Lighting the Void on the Fringe FM. It's magic.
May the gods look with favor upon you.
You're wondering what we're going to do to you, aren't you?
This is Corbin, son of the one and only Joe Root, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
Come, walk through the mossy creek and up the hill. Never mind the flashing lights and otherworldly shadows. They stay hidden within the trees. Come, step up to the shack and begin your journey to the answers that you seek. This is Lady Anne, and you are listening to Lighting the Void on the Fringe FM.
Did you know that qualified patients can access medical cannabis in all 50 states? Cannasense is a medical cannabis collective that helps patients in all 50 states gain access to cannabis medication. Cannasense does this with a streamlined process and strict compliance with the Compassionate Use Act of 1996, the Affordable Care Act, and the U.S. Constitution. It is important for each patient to understand the legalities involved, the costs, and the benefits of cannabis medication. Through truth, legalization, and education, the medical benefits of cannabis will supplant recreational perceptions, and the real vision for change will be realized. Let the people and their personal doctors take control of their medical cannabis decisions before the greed of big business takes over. The tipping point for change is today, and Cannasense is ready to lead the charge and enable legal access for all qualified patients to medical cannabis through its proven system. For more information, go to thefringe.fm/care or click the banner on the website today.
Occult Arcana is a balanced and objective guide to those subjects considered a part of the nature of light and darkness. Addressed in this text is a compilation of material that will provide new perspectives and awaken latent abilities that we all possess. The content herein shall provide magical sustenance for adept and novice alike, and will help strengthen the cornerstone of mystic understanding and alchemical transmutation. If you are interested in this modern grimoire, you can find detailed information and ways to order by visiting www.thesecretteachings.info. Although esoteric and occult studies remain vast, they are rooted within a universal philosophy that is difficult, if not impossible by finite terms, to explain in words. Language places restriction and erects barriers to understandings. By this it is to be understood that there are some things man should consider far too sacred to profane with definition. For these concepts and the manner by which we live our lives, we shall take a note from the Greek philosopher Pythagoras. Quote, "Silence is better than unmeaning words." End quote. To get your autographed copy of Occult Arcana today, simply visit www.thesecretteachings.info or email The Secret Teachings at rdgable@yahoo.com.
Okay, here we go. AncientLifeOil.com. AncientLifeOil.com. Now this is for CBD. AncientLifeOil.com. Again, for CBD. Where do I get CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. It's pretty good stuff. Organic, non-GMO. We are the Ferrari of CBDs. AncientLifeOil.com. You know, they say when you mention a person's name 3 times when you first meet, that you're going to remember. So I'd say to you, nice to meet you, AncientLifeOil.com. It's AncientLifeOil.com, right? Nice to know that you help people. AncientLifeOil.com. Think about this. Occasional stress, occasional anxiety, occasional inflammation, occasional stiffness, and intruders that get you down. AncientLifeOil.com. Okay, so I'm going to give you a fact for the day. So Ancient Life Oil does not help you with business deals. Hold on a second. If you feel better, it could help you make a better decision. Okay, I'm wrong. Just remember to go to AncientLifeOil.com.
This is Reverend John M. Polk. Please visit me at johnpolkmedia.com and visit my show, Quantum Hologram Matrix, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, every Tuesday on thefringe.fm.
You're listening to Lighting the Void. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. If you would like to text, you can text in at 501-777-5631.
Jock Doubleday is our guest tonight. We are speaking about the Bosnian Pyramids, Inner Earth, what we're going to talk about here soon, what could be called the cosmic internet, as well as more of research that he's uncovered and some of the projects that he's been on. I want to ask kind of like a question, Jock, to you about evidence, kind of like an ethical, I guess, question. And so there's 2 things that I think about a lot when it comes to evidence. One is, if you have a theory in your mind and you go out searching for only evidence to validate that theory, are you really doing what I would call real conductive, like scientific research? And 2, my next question for you would be, why don't we consider people's testimonials on things scientific research? Why can't that be considered? I mean, if enough people say this has happened to me, I mean, they use it in court, so why don't we use it in science, right?
Well, those are really excellent questions, and I'm going to answer the second one first. This is just my opinion. Every scientist who's in a laboratory who sees something, he performs an experiment, he looks at what happens, he writes it down, and then he goes out and he tells his colleagues, this is what happened. It's a story. It's a testimonial of what happened in the lab. And so every single scientific paper written out there is a story about what happened. So it's a testimonial. So testimonials are science. Testimonials are evidence. It's just a question of what we, as a global mind, or what each of us in the global mind decide we want to believe, which side, which angle on any subject do we want to go with? What story do we want to go with about any particular scientific research? So, with vaccines, for instance, you can go, we've got 1 million parents saying that they took their, saying the same thing. We took our child in to get his vaccine, his or her vaccine. He lost his speech, and that's their testimonial. It's always the same. And you go, well, that's legitimate evidence. Now we, as a global mind, can decide, is that enough evidence? Is 1 million parents enough evidence to tell us that vaccines are poison? Or do we need another few million before we'll actually believe that angle, that testimonial angle, that story.
Yeah.
Because there's another story coming out of the universities, the Rockefeller indoctrination camps is what I call them. And, especially the medical schools. I mean, that's just Rockefeller straight up. I mean, so anybody can go to my article, Into the Labyrinth, Discovering the Truth About Vaccination, and find out the truth about that. And Russell Blaylock, who's a neurosurgeon, spilled the beans. He said, this is what happened with Rockefeller at the turn of the century. He closed down all the medical schools, opened it back up under his pro-vaccine, ideology, and that's what we have. We have Rockefeller. We don't have science. We have Rockefeller. So that's what the MDs are doing. They're just parroting that. So that's what the MDs will tell you, that vaccines are wonderful and they've conquered disease, and that's one story, Rockefeller's story. And then on the other, we have millions of parents going, I got a different story. So then we get to decide. It's all science. It's just that when a mom is saying it, you go, well, that's just a testimonial. But when an MD says his story, which he read in a textbook written by Rockefeller, you go, well, he's got a lab coat. That must be true. So it's just a question of image, an image about each story. What are we going to believe? Well, let's not worry about the image too much. Let's look at the friggin' data. If you've got 1 million moms saying my kid was hurt by this vaccine, or 1 million dads, that's pretty strong evidence. That's pretty, at least you got to look at that. You can't just dismiss it. So that's with all the sciences. We got to look at each angle, each story, and go, yeah, maybe a story, but it's all stories. So that's my answer to your question number one, for what it's worth. I'm a storyteller, so I know about story. That's what I do all day. Mm-hmm. Most of the stuff I write is fiction, but then I'm also writing these articles on ancient history. And then we get into your first question, which is, let's say you go out into the field, which is what I did for 23 months in Bosnia as the videographer for Archaeological Park Foundation, which is the Bosnian NGO that oversees excavation in the Bosnian Pyramid Complex. So I worked for them officially for over a year, and then I was there for many months on my own, and I'll always be making videos, always out in the field. And like you say, I had my theories. I started to develop theories. I was like, wow, I wonder if the riverbed is built, and I looked for evidence supporting that theory. So yes, I was looking for evidence to support my theory that I came up with after being there for over a year. And I said, I bet you the riverbed ties the structures together so the river water runs over the megastructure that is the complex instead of being able to erode it from the side. Okay. Which is what a natural river would do. So I bet you they built the whole damn riverbed. Right. So I was looking for evidence for that, but the other thing is that as a person who cares about science, I was also seeing when what I was seeing was not supporting my theory. Then it's a question of, will you, as a researcher, as a field researcher or a laboratory researcher, will you report both sides? Will you show all of it? Because, we're still going to be able to see when things don't support our theory. We're not going to be completely blinded. We're not like a horse with blinders. We're a human being and we can see. But it's just a question of whether our ego will get in the way.
Fantastic. Yeah, see, that's exactly what I was getting at. So you kind of knew where I was going with that, right? Are you willing to also try to find evidence that disproves your theory, which really is what you should be doing? And like I mentioned earlier in the program, I've got Tim is looking for evidence of UFOs and aliens, and then he has actual footage of real UFOs. And not only does he look for both sides, but because he has found evidence against certain theories, concepts, and ideas, people treat him as if he's an anti-alien guy, like he's the opposite. It's an extremely polar point of view when you're in that community. Now, I don't know about this community, but I just hate to see that, So, yeah, I'm glad you said that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I was out. After I left the Bosnian Pyramid Complex, I traveled to Serbia, then I traveled to Croatia, and those are all in the Balkans. They all used to be Yugoslavia, for those who don't know that geography. And so they're all relatively near each other. And so I was just traveling around, and checking out these. I lived for a few months in each separate country. And I was doing my field research at the same time that I was writing a play about Tesla and getting that translated into Serbian and then Croatian. And so I was doing both the fiction and the nonfiction, let's say. Although the play about Tesla's actually got a lot of nonfiction in there, but I'm not going to go into it right now. But there's a lot of stuff about Tesla that most people don't know about how he died and stuff. That's pretty crazy.
Well, why not? Or you don't want to talk about that? That stuff really interests me.
Okay, I'll talk about that in a second. Let me just get to this one point to back up what you were saying there about the field researchers or the researchers in general who are either acknowledging or ignoring the stuff that goes against the theory. Well, I already had this theory about the terraforming of at least part of the Earth. The Balkans all seem terraformed to me, and I had so many videos and so many explorations going, look at this stuff. I don't see how it can be natural with these straight line vertical seams through what geologists would call sedimentary layers. It's many thousands of years must have passed for each layer, and then you've got a straight line seam through all the layers. That doesn't make any sense. Nature's not going to make a straight line seam that just runs through eons and eons of different layers. That doesn't make any sense. So these straight line seams have always been the thing that showed me that it was what I called clamudcrete back in the day, because I didn't know what else to call it. I was like clay, mud, concrete.
Clamudcrete, okay. Yeah.
Clamudcrete, like the ancients are just mixing all this stuff together, this magic concrete, and just putting it everywhere. And you're like, why are they doing that? But clearly somebody was doing this. At least clear to me. It might not be clear to somebody else, but or even right. It might not be right, but to me it's clear. And I put it in the videos, and anyone can bring their evidence to the videos, comments, and whatever. Just give me some damn evidence that shows that I'm wrong. Great. So I was trying to support my theory, just like anybody does with their theory. And then I was in Croatia and making videos out in the field, having a lot of fun getting out there and just looking at the earth, looking at hills and the stones, what geologists call stones and what I started to call concrete and clamudcrete, but ancient concrete. And I saw that a lot of the walls in Rijeka, Croatia, were built out of quarried stone. And so there's just endless stonework in Rijeka. I mean, because it's just a big, what I think of as a big terraformed concrete bunch of hills, and with very little soil on it. So it's like all they had to work with was, all they could do to build houses and walls was to just quarry this endless landscape of concrete or stone, whichever way you want to say it. So that they had all these stone walls, and I would go to the bus, and I would wait for the bus and take photos of the stone walls, because I was like, well, this is free excavation. They quarried this stuff, whatever it is, whether it's geological, natural, or artificial concrete, and I would take really close-up pictures of it and just put it on Facebook or make videos of it. And one day I saw a seashell in one of the building blocks of the wall that I was standing near at the bus station. And I was like, uh-oh, that puts a crimp in my theory big time. There's a damn seashell in what I think of as ancient artificial concrete.
Yeah.
This clearly shows that it's natural. I was like, damn it!
Yeah, so it hurts a little bit, right? It stings just a little to see something like that.
Yeah. So I was like really, really, really upset. And I was like, okay, well, so much for that theory. And then 2 years went by. And then recently I was reading this article, because I subscribe to 3dprint.com's newsletter, because I feel like the Earth might have been printed. So I just want to know what the advances are that we've had, Homo sapiens sapiens, just in the last 50 years in 3D printing. Because if the ancients printed planets, then they had millions and millions of years to perfect this, and we've only had 50, and we've come so far. It's just incredible how far we've come in 50 years. And I'm like, this is insane. So much money is going into 3D printing. I got to follow this. I want to see what's happening. What can we do with a 3D printer? What can we, this conscious ape, this barely conscious ape, do? So I'm reading this article, and it goes, they're using seashells, pulverized seashells, as a really strong binding agent in this printing process. I'm like, holy shit. Well, I wonder if the ancients used seashells in concrete. In other words, they did. In other words, suddenly the thing that I was willing to say, oh, so much for my theory, well, now it's possibly supporting, or at least not saying that my theory is totally busted. At least there's a possibility that the ancients could have used seashells as part of their material. They're getting material from somewhere. Right? So that's kind of cool. And it still doesn't mean I'm right, and it's never about, is Jock Doubleday right, or is any scientist right? It's about, let's get some damn more evidence and see what the global mind thinks of it.
Okay, so I get that. I can hear your passion there. I'm looking kind of like at the bigger picture, and I'm glad that you're rounding up evidence like that, especially archaeological evidence that supports your theories on these things. But I am really looking at this. What's been on my mind the whole time we've been talking is that this cosmic internet idea that you can move from information from one area of space in the universe to another almost immediately. And that was, I guess, presented to you by this Dr. Sam Osmanagic. Is that his name? That's what you said? And the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is sending information from our planet to the sun, and then it continues on from the sun to the center of the galaxy, and then from the center of our galaxy to the center of the universe and back. And I just had Wal Thornhill on, where he has really done a lot of good work when it comes to the electric universe theory and how it's all kind of one thing. I think what bothers me the most about all of this is that we're not finding the one thing that kind of seals the deal for all this, right? Whether it's plasma, which I don't know if plasma would work with what your guys' theory is on the cosmic internet. Would that work? Would that go along with what you're talking about here?
Well, I'm just going to answer by saying, first of all, that I'm a playwright and a poet, so I'm going to do my best. So,
buddy, I'm a redneck in a shack, so we're all right.
Yeah, so it's like like I said, when I was young, my heroes were the geeks in high school, the honor students, and Goran Marjanovic, the Serbian electrical engineer who came out to do many different studies, electrical and scalar, in the Bosnian Pyramid complex. He's my hero. I love talking to him, even though he has to talk to me like I say, like I'm a 5-year-old to make me understand anything. So I'm just staring at the screen going, how do I even begin to talk about this?
Well, these are big ideas, right? And they feel true to us. They feel true to me, based on my experiences out of the body and spirit travel and what I've read about alchemy and the solar body and how we're supposed to be able to travel through starlight instead of just being stuck on the planets. So all this stuff makes sense to me. It's just that when we go to science, right, like you were talking about earlier, they keep coming up with new names for this stuff, whether it's dark matter, dark energy. They got a name for it. They know it's there. They don't know what it is. Yet somebody with a big idea, or somebody that's a spiritual person that just has good insight or intuition, can create an entire website full of archives that go back years and years and years to prove just about every theory they want to prove when it comes to the electric universe, with hardly all based on intuition. So why are we not filling the gaps here? I mean, there are other places like Dean Radin, the Institute of Noetic Science, a lot of places out there that are putting these things together. But I'm just curious as to what's really keeping it all apart. I mean, it should be one thing right now. We should have found an answer to this stuff by now, especially with the technology that we have. It's just frustrating,
I love your enthusiasm on the timeline of when we should know it. about the basic fundamentals of the universe. It's awesome. You're in Aries, and you're like, let's get it done.
Yeah, I mean, it's prolonging to me causes suffering. Prolonging problems just causes more suffering. I know it's not nice to put them out on Front Street, but it's better than prolonging it and making it worse to me. And I think there's a lot of political junk going on about certain people wanting to be right, and that's on both sides. You know, the woo-woo people that they call us, and science as well. But there's been way too many people that have testified to what I guess I could call it bioenergy has done for them, or biogeometry, so to speak. Just that alone. And we haven't even got to the inner earth stuff, but this is the stuff I'm really interested in, you know.
Well, I've followed closely Wallace Thornhill and the Electric Universe Thunderbolts project, and so I'm deeply into that theory and the information they present. And so Wallace Thornhill is engaged in his, even though it's a big idea, it's still a narrow area of research. And so, in other words, he's dealing with electricity, period. I mean, yes, electricity is generating all this incredible stuff throughout the universe, and it's like the you could say it might be the prime cause or something like that. But then you go, well, what if there's another layer below that, right? What if the scalar energy, that accordion compression rarefaction of the ether, is another layer, and we can use that layer for some communication? Because we can, you know, so, and then you go, and what about the ether itself? That's another layer below that. That's Tesla's ether. And you kind of got to go, well, if Tesla said there's an ether, I should at least look into that, because maybe he was right, because it's Tesla. And so then you got the ether, you got scalar waves above that, then you got electricity, so you got different layers, and people are studying one thing generally. So I think that's probably why one layer. So that's why this stuff hasn't come together, because, you know, the Thunderbolts project is not studying scalar waves. They got nothing on scalar waves, period. They think, and also as far as the formation of the planets, they go, well, we know the planets didn't accrete from dust and gas, you know, and that's the university's position, the academic position, is that all the planets accreted from dust and gas. And it's like, well, we know that that's not true over here in the Thunderbolts project, the electric universe. But their theory, their best theory for how the planets formed, is that along strings of plasma, there were beads that became planets. I'm like, well, that's all sweet and nice, and that's your electric universe theory, but they're not really concentrating on planet formation, how that was done. They're just concentrating on how it wasn't done, and then going on from there with other electrical aspects to the universe, you know, electric comets and all that stuff. So they're not concentrating on how planets were formed particularly. They just sort of go, they were probably formed by the beads of plasma, and on the bead, at that node, and you're like, yeah, or they were built. So I'm over here going, well, I'm not going to write Wallace Thornhill and go, I think they were built, because why should he care what I think? I'm just a playwright. But I'm going to write my articles, and anybody who wants to see them can go to them. But we're all doing our separate things, you know. Maybe you should be the guy that writes the book that joins it all together. I don't know who's going to join it all together. I mean, it's just, you know what I'm saying?
Well, it is one of the most frustrating things to me that I find in this whole thing is occultists, esotericists, spiritual mystics, whatever, talk about the exact same stuff that alternative researchers do, and they talk about the exact same stuff that scientists do, but scientists want to call them, they don't call them anything. They just call it a wall, like dark matter or dark energy, because we can't find it yet or measure it. Meanwhile, all of these other people are having experiences, and I honestly think, and I really think, this is my theory, and I'd like to find evidence to support it, just basically, you know, how we've been having that discussion, is that whatever consciousness is made up of and energy is made up of, people, I get all kinds of answers. Frequency, sound, light, everybody jumps at you about that. But whatever it is made up of is probably the glue that fits this all together. Probably. Because we can travel in our minds pretty quick. We have remote viewers that have proven that. And so I think that this field is more than, it's not so cut and dry. And I know that we're looking for cut and dry answers, but it could be just a whole bunch of things that are true that everybody's saying put together. And the only way we're going to figure out the truth is by more exploration of consciousness and out-of-body travel and taking risks and stuff like that. Even psychedelics, if you want to go that route. But that's just my opinion.
Well, I was just, I'm a big Alan Watts follower too, and I was just listening to a talk he gave today that I'd never heard before, where he talked about his own life and how he came to do what he did. And he ended it up with, he was basically saying how he came to not be sort of in the Catholic lineage, even though he should have been. In other words, he should have been believing a certain religion because everybody else in his culture did, but he went with a different view of the universe, which is, and here we get to the consciousness subject, and I think that consciousness could be looked at as a fabric. So in other words, instead of saying what is it that makes up consciousness, what's the ultimate glue, we could just say that consciousness is the ultimate glue.
Yeah, there you go. Could be.
It's just because we think of it as this thing that's not material enough to be a glue, but maybe it's the glue.
Right. Yeah. And look, you got to understand when you say things like cosmic internet, that I can wrap my head around. Inner Earth, there's already terrestrials here living inside of the Earth stuff. It's almost like we start with these big ideas and then we got to work backwards. I think that's a little bit, it's a little bit dangerous for the perception of, well, not dangerous. The effect of it causes mainstream society to just kind of go, ooh, what is that? Inner Earth aliens? Like, I thought these people were serious for a minute. So I kind of see what you're doing, like where you're starting from the ground up to look for this stuff. I mean, that helps. It really does. Archaeology, all these things help. But when it comes to the inner Earth, shoot, we got to take a break. I'm wondering what your basis of that is. Is it purely people's stories and what they have experienced that tells you that? Or have you really found what you consider to be actual evidence of an inner Earth yourself? And I guess we could go into break. Do you want to answer that in a moment just briefly, and then we can go into break and talk about it when we come back? Or?
I'll just give you one sentence, and then we can go if you want. And that is that there is scientific evidence for an inner Earth.
There we go. That's fantastic. All right, good teaser. Fantastic. We'll be right back with Jock Doubleday. Stay with us.
To call Joe, pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada.
This is Preston Dennett from PrestonDennett.weebly.com, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
This is Elle. I listen to Lighting the Void because it's interactive radio with good content, interesting guests, and a humble host, sharing this journey through the esoteric. Hey, Joe Roop. Thanks for having us along for the ride.
Thank you so much for a delightful evening.
Well, I got a lot of ground to cover.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners, did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone, app, or internet needed.
Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to The Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Alex Exum.
This is Alex Exum of the Exum Experience in Live Talk, where we discuss current events, society, and culture. My shows are based in actuality, actual existence, contrasted with what was intended, expected, or believed. You can listen to me live Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. only on KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about AngioPrim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking AngioPrim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in AngioPrim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call AngioPrim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
OMG! People are jumping on board to the Life Change Tea Regiment. Brew, steep, and drink for a gentle, taste-great cleanse. It's changing how they feel. See what everybody's talking about. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea aids in digestive slowdown and helps people get moving down a healthy path. We won't make claims. We'll just let you decide. Experience is much better than a commercial anyway. If you want results, log on to getthetea.com and purchase your super strength cleansing tea. You won't be disappointed. And if you're looking for some mind-body suggestions, go to YouTube and punch in the search bar Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. Put power into your health now. So, getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com for super strength tea. And YouTube, Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now for valuable suggestions. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
You are listening to the Fringe FM, and I'm Michael Deacon reminding you can find my show right here on the Fringe FM every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, or by going to michaeldeacon.com. The choice is yours.
This is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange Radio, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. Don't forget the show's here for you 5 nights a week, 9 p.m. Pacific to midnight every single night. Again, hearts out to Tim Doyle and UFO Seekers. We love you. Keep your head up, please. Keep doing the work. I think sometimes it takes a lot of darkness before you see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm just going to say that. So keep doing what you're doing, and I think this might actually pay off. It might actually work in your favor once people realize what's going on. And so big shout out to UFO Seekers, also to any of the new donors. You can donate to the show if you go to lightingthevoid.com. There's a donate button there. And if you go to the contact page, there's a speak pipe button there as well, where you can leave all of what you love about the show, all of your questions that you want us to talk about, and even hate mail. I'll air it all. I'll even produce it and put it on the air. So that's at the contact page at lightingthevoid.com. Jock Doubleday is our guest tonight, and Jock has done quite a bit of research when it comes to the Bosnian pyramids. I think that's what most people, when everybody found out you were coming on tonight, that's what a lot of people wanted to discuss. And I was noticing something, and before the break we were getting into the inner earth, and that's what we were going to talk about. But I did notice something pretty cool on a video that a producer sent me, like this giant sphere that they just pulled out of the ground. And I didn't get to really look at everything of what it was, but it looked like a perfect bowling ball, but it was the size of a half-ton truck or bigger. I mean, what in the hell was that thing? Can you hear me?
Oh, are you asking me?
Yes, sir. I'm asking you. Yes, sir.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what that thing was.
It's just a big sphere, right? You don't have any ideas of what it could be or what you think it is?
No, I don't know, man.
How deep was that in the ground, by the way?
What did you say?
How deep was that in the ground, by the way?
No idea.
All right, fantastic. Okay, so let's talk about the inner earth, I guess. What evidence were you wanting to discuss about that is more evidence than just the Admiral Byrd story that you know of?
Well, I mean, as we were talking about earlier, we have many testimonials from different people who have a lot to lose or had a lot to lose by talking about going to an inner earth, seeing giants and giant plants and an artificial sun and all this stuff. And why would they do that? Why would they destroy their reputations? Why would they want people to think they were crazy? It makes no sense unless they were just telling the truth, you know? So we have those testimonials, but then we do have science. And so I have an article called Waiting for the Hollow Earth, and also an article called Shielding, which talks about the possibility that the alternating hard and soft layers that we find across the Earth were created artificially to protect an inner Earth civilization from large asteroid impacts. So the soft alternating layers would cushion, be a cushion, like a pillow, for a large asteroid, and the harder layers that alternate with the soft layers would be a way to direct the kinetic energy of the asteroid at a 90-degree angle, so that it's exploding out. The kinetic energy of the vertical incoming asteroid is exploding out horizontally when it hits the hard layer, and then that hard layer is being cushioned by the soft layer below it as it goes in. And then you've got the alternating hard and soft, and it just keeps cushioning those massive impacts. That's my theory for how they terraformed the Earth. But of course, most people would go, they terraformed the Earth? What are you talking about? So if you can get on board with the idea or the possibility that the Earth has been terraformed, then you go, well, why'd they make it this way? And to me, it's obvious, but to other people, it's like, well, you got to prove that by different means. It's like, well, I don't know if I have to prove it. All I'm doing is putting evidence out there, and people can go, oh yeah, that makes sense, or that doesn't make sense to me, and that's fine. Everyone can do what they want with it, you know. I'm just putting evidence out, and it's videographic. It's always video. It's me talking on video, showing you what I'm looking at, and going, what do you think? So, as far as other science goes, for an inner Earth, in other words, for a hollow Earth in which advanced civilizations might be living, we have the absence of. We have something called the shadow zone, which is the absence of earthquake energy on the other side of the Earth when there's an earthquake on this side of the Earth, and the the orthodoxy will tell you that it's because their so-called molten core does not carry earthquake energy. And it's like, really? So in other words, you're saying that something that's liquid isn't able to carry earthquake energy, kinetic energy? But, you've got sound waves made by whales that can travel for hundreds of miles in the ocean, in the liquid of the ocean. But you're saying that earthquake energy can't travel through a molten core? They never say why. They just say, well, that's why it doesn't show up on this shadow zone on the other side of the Earth. There's no tremors. It's like, well, wouldn't it not show up if there was an open core where there's air? That's why it wouldn't show up, not because there's some sloshy material in there. Sloshy material would travel through it. There's no reason given why it wouldn't travel through the sloshy molten core. Quotes. So people can go to my article, Waiting for the Hollow Earth, which is a companion piece to Waiting for the Hollow Moon. And then I've got another article called Waiting for the Hollow Moon. There's two of those. So it's just because we know the moon is hollow. I mean, science is clear on that. And that's just a question of, is the Earth hollow too? Now, as far as the moon goes, Isaac Asimov already in the 70s asked the question, and he's probably the smartest guy around since Tesla. I mean, Isaac Asimov wrote many hundreds of books on science, and then he also wrote science fiction, and that's what he's known for. But he was a science guy, and his science fiction was always based in science. And he said, what is the moon doing there? That's his quote about the moon. It shouldn't be there. He said it's too big. Its orbit is too round. It's not elliptical enough to have been captured by the Earth. He said it doesn't. None of it makes sense. That's not the quote. The actual quote is, "What is the moon doing there?" And the rest of it is me just elaborating. So,
sure.
If Isaac Asimov is saying, "What is the moon doing there?" then we go, we got to look into this, and then we do look into it, and we go, well, there's evidence that it was brought here because it's not the right age to have been broken off from the Earth, and it's because it's older, and you're like, wow. And then there's this metal shield, this metal material. Well, I call it a shield, but because that fits my theory. But let's just call it metal material for now, so that when asteroids hit the moon, they make these really shallow impact craters, because then they hit the metal shield, and the metal shield protects what's inside, and that's again my theory, the what's inside part, from the impact of the asteroid. So you got all these shallow craters, you got the metal layer below the softer stuff above it, and then just endless secret space program whistleblowers saying, yeah, I've been inside the moon, and here's the details of all the stuff that happened when I was there, and just endless whistleblowers talking about the inside of the moon. So we have the science, which says, this is weird. This moon shouldn't be there. Here's some features about it that don't make sense, and then you've got the testimonials. So you got the moon, then you got the science about the non-existing molten core, because you see of the Earth, academic science wants to tell us that volcanoes are bringing up molten core material and spewing it out. The Earth, in the interior of the Earth, is so hot. It just has to get rid of all this material through volcanoes, and it's like, no, that's not what's happening. What's happening is we had a smaller Earth in the past, and so we know that, and we know that because all of the organisms were bigger in the past because it was lower gravity, because the Earth was much smaller. So Wallace Thornhill says it was about the size of Mars. It's about 1/3 the size it is now, and then you go, well, if it was smaller then, had lower gravity so that we could have these massive dinosaurs walking around, which could not walk around on Earth now because the gravity is too high. How did it get bigger? Well, it got bigger at the rings of fire. But where did that material come from? Shouldn't it have been from the molten core that they posit in academia? No. It's from a ring of molten material below the crust. But then you go, well, but why is it molten? If the original theory of the planet formation, which says that there's radioactive material inside the Earth, that's so hot that it's creating molten material. If that's wrong, so the planet accretion theory is wrong, why did someone build a planet that has a molten layer underneath the crust? Well, they did it so that the Earth could slowly expand over time, clearly. Again, it's clear to me, it's obvious to me, that that's the reason they did it. They want the rings of fire to bring up molten material to expand the Earth so that they can have a larger Earth, more room inside, they can build more caverns, they can continually grow their home. What if you could grow your home? That's cool. Or you could just build it and it can be one size. But what if your family gets bigger? Where are you going to go? I guess we'll have to build another home. Well, why? Why not just have an expanding Earth? Right. I mean, it all sounds crazy because I'm just punching a whole bunch of different ideas out there one after another like a machine gun, and it all sounds crazy. But if you just go to my article, you meaning anyone listening, Waiting for the Hollow Earth, What to Expect When You're Expecting Inner Earth Relatives, there's a lot of stuff there. We got a video of what looks to be from the Mir satellite, a film of clouds disappearing into a hollow Earth, into the hole in a pole, probably the South Pole. It's called Filmed Hollow Earth. You can get it anywhere on YouTube. You don't have to go to my article, but that's one of the first things there. And you can see the clouds going counterclockwise into the, is it clockwise or counterclockwise? Hold on just a second. Clockwise into rotation of the clouds into the South Pole. And it's a film from something that looks like the Mir space station. So that's a beginning of evidence about a hole in the Earth. Whether there's a civilization inside an inner Earth, that's another thing. But then we just keep gathering more information. Some of it's in my article. We've got maps from Tibet that talk about that show openings at the poles, the ancient maps, endless sort of corroborating evidence from different cultures, from modern science. And people can make up their own minds and then contribute their own evidence for or against the theory. It's awesome. That's science.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from as far as the right questions, because I think that's the problem that we don't get to ask the right questions about some of this stuff a lot of times because it's considered too taboo to ask a question when in your mind it doesn't add up what they're telling you. That's good to talk about those things. It really is. It's good to bring it up, and it's good not to be afraid to ask about it ever, in my opinion. We don't know what the moon is. We don't know what the moon is. We can't even begin to allow anyone to tell us the entire truth, in my mind, about what the moon really is or what the Earth really is. I mean, we've been constantly looking for other planets that can even remotely, support life like that we have, and we found a few here and there based on what the gas is on the Earth and the atmosphere. That's still not enough. And so then we're on Mars, and we've got a few rovers that pull up some sediment and rock, and we dig a little bit, but we're not near, if you really look at it, and this is where I agree with you, we're not really near the evidence that we need to come up with the answers to this stuff or let science tell us what the answers are. No matter how far they think they've gone, it's not even close to coming to the real answers, especially about the moon. I mean, the moon is like the biggest mystery and satellite in our sky. Every 5 years, another mystery comes up about this thing. And, I would know what you're talking about when it comes to the metal shield, when that research came out, that there was definitely metal complexes or cores or whatever that were buried in there. And they're just not talking about it. And if I'm with you on this part, and I'll tell you where I get lost, though. But I do want to mention that Richard C. Hoagland used to talk about this stuff back in the day on Art Bell's program, and people would laugh him to the core. And now, guess what? They're finding water on Mars. They're finding all the stuff that he talked about. I think we just need to give it a little bit more time. And that's it. We just need to give it a little bit more time. Where I get lost, though, is the super soldier stuff, the blue avian, the people that say they've done this and been there, done that. That is very hard. I know it kind of goes along with the story, but the evidence when it comes to that stuff is very, very slim. I mean, if any at all. But I get it. I get what you're saying. I really do.
Well, then, it's Max Spears, right? Spiers.
Right.
Well, he was one of the guys who was, in common parlance, I guess you'd say, a super soldier. I think he might have even called himself that, because that's what they called the people who supposedly employed him called him. Sort of a just a little bit extra strong, very healthy, good specimen of a human being that they could use on another planet is the theory, is the idea, and that's what Max Spears said in many video interviews. This is what he was used for as sort of a physical warrior to defend human bases on, for instance, Mars from other species who might attack, or to go attack them, And it's like, wow, that sounds totally insane. But then he was murdered. And you're like, okay, he's a young guy. He's putting his story out there, and then suddenly he's murdered. And it's like, I mean, whether you believe the guy or not, it's pretty interesting that suddenly he's murdered when he starts to tell specific details about what he did, and so that, I'm not saying that everybody who's a truth teller must therefore be murdered, and therefore we know that they're right or something. I'm just saying that it's just another piece of evidence, and so I wanted to write an article called "Who Murdered Max Spears," but I couldn't get contacts. Because I'm willing to be on the front lines of all the weirdness and sort of risk a lot, because I have nothing to really lose. I have no career, I have no salary, I have no reputation. I'm a playwright, so if I quote lose it all, lose my whole reputation, I don't have a reputation. But if I did,
I get what you're a videographer, man. You've done. Look, I looked you up on YouTube. You've done a lot of really good interviews. There's a ton of YouTube videos with you on there, and you got Graham Hancock's attention about what you're talking about. That says a lot. So, I get it, not having nothing to lose, but I'll pat you on the back if you won't do it.
Well, I mean, thank you, and I just know that so many people in the field of science have something specific to lose, specifically their job at the university. Specifically their salary from the university, or their reputation as a best-selling author or something like that. So it's like, but I'm just like, hey, I'll say what I want to say without any worry about the reputation thing. So that's cool. Then I can talk about Max Spears, but it doesn't mean that I think that he's for real. It just means that this is pretty interesting. Let's write an article on this, and then I just keep putting stuff out to the global mind, because I'm willing to be wrong. It's totally fine. But tell me I'm wrong, and then we can move forward. I just want to find out the truth,
Yeah, exactly. Some things are worth investigating. You get a few clues or a few things that don't make sense, or that do make a lot of sense. It's definitely worth looking into, and that's what the show's all about. We're just trying to ask questions here too. We're not trying to prove anybody wrong or right, but at the same time, I do kind of believe in the whole idea of being responsible about how we do it. And I would say that you're definitely doing that, because you're just showing, look, here's some evidence. Here's a Tibetan or a diagram of the hollow earth. Here's some other stuff. Here's some satellite pictures. What do you think? I mean, that's perfect. To me, that's perfect. You're not really trying to push anything. Of course, people will say that. Yeah, they'll say that. They always will, but we do need to look at these things. Now, do you have any thoughts on, or do you have any esoteric takes on this as far as spirituality goes, that what I brought up earlier? Just out of curiosity, do you think that there is a connection there to that as well?
Well, you mentioned this word intuition really early on in the interview, because you're talking about, I think you're talking about your own intuition about things, and you were basically saying that you went with your intuition. I think that's what you're saying.
Right. Yep.
Okay, so this is what I also do, and I trust it implicitly. And in other words, it's not even a question. I just go with my intuition on something. But intuition is always also extuition. In other words, I think I made that word up to talk about the fact that we do gather data before we have our intuition. It's not like we just come up with an intuition out of nothing. We're looking at the world. We're listening to people talk about things. We stumble upon something weird. We stumble upon a stone in Turkey, and we start to dig, and we find Göbekli Tepe. So, and then we have an intuition about who they were, when they were, what they were, why this is here. All these stone circles are there with these really tall monuments. Why? Well, we have intuitions. And it doesn't mean that our intuitions are correct, but I just follow my intuition about things. And if I don't have an intuition, I just leave it alone. I don't write an article pushing some thing that my intuition doesn't agree with. I only go with stuff that my intuition is solidly behind, because what would be the fun of going on a limb when my intuition is going, I don't even have an opinion on this. Well, I'm waiting for my intuition to have an opinion, then I write an article or I make a video. And right. I just put enthusiasm into it because my intuition is so strong, saying, yes, this is it, keep following this. So that, that's all I got, ultimately. And then as the foundation, and then I go, well, based on this enthusiasm, I'm going to go make a video. I just go out in the field. And here in Texas, I made a video called Enchanted Rock. I knew it was artificial from the Google Maps or Google Earth because I could see the long straight line seams in this supposedly igneous material, this pink granite. I was like, oh, that's artificial. Why are they making domes? So I already knew it was artificial. Meanwhile, no geologist in Texas is saying anything like that. They're like, isn't it interesting that there's this granite burp that came out of the earth? And it's like, granite burp? Really? That's your term? Are you insane? There's straight line seams all through this, man. I mean, they go for meters and meters and meters, 50 meters, and they're vertical straight line seams through this dome. And then there's all these other domes for miles and miles and miles. And it's like, really? Well, what in God's name is going on? So I made a video. I'm just going to keep making videos called the Texas Mega Complex series because there's pyramids here. There's the Utopia Pyramid Complex. So I keep finding things. My intuition keeps going, man, everything's built. Everything's built. I used to get in the car when Samir would come pick me up in Visoko in the Bosnian Pyramid Complex. We'd go on some adventure, make some video. And I would get in the car. I wouldn't even say hi. I'd be like, it's all built. That's how I'd start the conversation. Because I'd been out in the field for months before I seen him because he was out on a book tour or whatever. And I was so excited. I was like, I can't find any natural material anywhere except for the darn soil on top of this ancient terraforming. No matter how far I go outside the complex, I took a taxi 14 kilometers outside the complex. It was still built. And I got videos going on and on about this, and he wouldn't really know what to say when I said it's all built. But that's kind of where I'm at. That's my intuition was so full of enthusiasm about this terraforming that I keep seeing. It goes, let's follow this, let's follow this, let's follow this. Let's make a fool of yourself when you get in the car with Samir, who's a really sort of like, he's not an emotional kind of guy. He's a very scientific-minded fellow, and so for me to just jump in the car and go, it's all built, it's like I just make a fool of myself, but I don't care. I'm just like, I'm so excited,
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. I get that way about certain things, certain subjects, too. I get kind of giddy about them. I have done on the show, too, before. I've got a texting question here for you. It says, a question for your guest. How could a hollow planet generate a magnetic field? How is that possible? How could it be hollow plus be able to generate a magnetic field?
That's a good question. I don't know. I would love to write an article on that. I'd have to do some research because I don't really know anything about how magnetic fields are generated by planets. I think spin is involved, but I don't know anything about it really. I'm sorry. I wish I had more data.
Fair enough. I wouldn't have been able to answer that either, so fair enough. All right, so look, we're going to take the last break of the night, and then when we come back, we'll finish up with your questions. We'll also talk about where we can actually, in all fairness, we need to look at all of, what Jock has done, because there's quite a bit of stuff, quite a bit of videos, a lot of articles out there. that he's done. All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is Vance Nesbitt. Take the time to expand your mind by listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop right here on the Fringe FM.
Hey, this check is wrong. I worked a holiday and 7 hours of overtime. Not getting paid correctly is a real pain. It could also hurt our boss if our company provides out-of-compliance checks. That's right, construction companies doing business with the government can get fined, or officials of the companies can go to jail if the checks aren't right. It's a law. The Davis-Bacon Act has 30 compliance issues for every check, but there is an easy way for construction companies to be in compliance. EMARS offers Compliant Client, a web-based system that finds and corrects all 30 of the possible out-of-compliance check issues. Users of Compliant Client report an 80% savings in time and money. Running a weekly payroll usually takes about 5 minutes. All 15,000 plus clients of EMARS have never had a legal compliance issue. Plus, they sleep better on check day. Contact EMARS at emarsinc.com or call 480-595-0466.
I like to listen to Lighting the Void because of the guests, the content, and the host, Joe Roop. He's smart, he's intelligent, and he seems to ask the questions that we all have on our mind. We're all searching for the truth, and Joe helps us get closer to it. I love this show. I love this show. I love this show. Lighting the Void.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you are interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm. Or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
Ew, yuck. They're unhealthy and gross. Bugs, I hate bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. From contact, it kills bugs. Plus, Orange Guard kills hidden bugs and keeps new bugs away for weeks. I know. I use Orange Guard. Plus, all of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally regarded as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It promotes a healthier planet, and here's a bonus. Orange Guard cleans where it's sprayed. Plus, it comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard.
You can get Orange Guard at Ace Hardware. And listen, folks, Orange Guard is tougher than bugs, and it's safe to use. Go to orangeguard.com. That's orangeguard.com.
In your face, all over the place.
We're online 24/7. 24/7.
You're listening to the hottest internet station.
The truth is out there.
There's something out here.
And so are we. KTLK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Hi, this is Aaron Hunter, host of Real Paranormal Activity, the podcast where we tell real paranormal experiences of people from around the world. And we also conduct interviews with authors, investigators, psychics, and mediums. Real people, real stories, real fear. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on The Fringe FM. See you then.
Do you want to know the truth? Are UFOs real? Are aliens visiting Earth? Are governments around the world hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO Seekers, official partner of The Fringe FM, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Join us as we investigate locations like Area 51 by subscribing on YouTube at youtube.com/UFO Seekers.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void, the secret teachings with our host Ryan Gable will be on after this show. The Fringe FM has talk radio, Fringe talk radio all through the night into the early morning hours each and every night. Tonight we're here with Jock Doubleday, and we're looking at his research on the Bosnian Pyramids, the inner earth, also what he calls the cosmic internet, and we're just kind of scratching the surface, honestly, and I want to be fair to the audience as well as Jacques and say that there's so many articles and so much research and interviews that you've done and videos that you have that we're just kind of really scratching the surface with you, and I know I've bounced all over the place when it comes to questions, so I really appreciate you doing that, because I know it's not easy to jump on and then get asked 9 million different questions from that don't all go the same route, so thanks. I appreciate that, Jacques.
It's totally a pleasure talking to you. You're a deep, sort of soulful, deep feeling, deep thinking guy. It's really nice talking to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I try to ask the big questions, and speaking of that, it's my theory that the scientists nowadays are becoming what the priest class. Back in the day, it used to be the church and the priests, and even in ancient Egypt, it was the king priests, and now it seems like that we look to scientists for answers for everything, and yet I don't feel that they've come any closer to answering the big questions. If you take the creation of the universe, like the Big Bang, you got Michio Kaku, and then you've got Neil deGrasse Tyson and a couple other guys that are big in science, but they just want us to realize that one miracle, and then they can kind of explain everything else except for like dark matter and what makes up space, sort of. Do you think that these guys are getting us anywhere, or we're kind of going backwards when it comes to finding out the information that we need when it comes to our history?
Well, I'm just going to say something that's going to sound either crazy or combative to Neil and Michio, or however you say his first name. Is it Michio or Michio?
I think it's Michio, probably. I probably said it totally wrong.
I have no idea. Michio Kaku. So Neil deGrasse Tyson and Michio Kaku are sort of what I call TV scientists. They're entertainers. And I don't want to make anybody mad. I don't want to sort of disenchant anybody to anything. I just want to tell you what I believe according to science, okay? The reason I think that they're TV scientists is that they're promulgating the Big Bang Theory as if it's set in stone, as if it's real, as if our universe came into being only 13x number of billion years ago. And we know that it's not true. We know that the universe, as far as science goes, has always been here, and then we can make the speculation that presumably it always will be here, and that the shape of it could be, this is speculation, a torus, like a donut, that's continually, so the energy is going, say, from the center of the donut to the outside, and then back in again, and it's eternally changing, but always there, right? So eternally there and eternally changing, dynamic, different. Stars are being born, stars are dying, always changing. But not from a single point, not exploded outward from a single point, which is absurd on the face of it. And then it requires years and years of scientists in academia telling us that the universe came from a single point. All of the matter, all of the energy came from a single point. Isn't it amazing? Well, it's an amazing fairy tale that has no scientific data backing it up. How do we know this? Because all we got to do is watch Cosmology Quest. It's a 2-part series on YouTube, and it's a low production value but still incredibly informative series. It's fairly short, actually, too. So it's not a lot of your time. Your time, meaning the time of your listeners. And it shows the academic fraud surrounding the Big Bang, how they covered up. When they kept finding evidence that showed that there was no Big Bang, they kept covering it up. They would fire people who came up with evidence that showed that there's no Big Bang. So basically the dark matter, dark energy fraud, those concepts were sort of, they just made them up to give weight to the universe, and in fact to give weight to their theory, their Big Bang theory. There must be some dark matter or some dark energy out there that we don't know about, because otherwise the universe couldn't contract again, because it's going out too fast, and it's, we need more weight so it can contract again and then explode again and contract again. So they just made up this stuff that no one's ever seen, no one's ever detected, dark matter, dark energy, and they just keep talking about it, these TV scientists. This really kind of makes me mad. I'm fairly calm when it comes to this kind of stuff, but these guys really make me mad, and I've put out a challenge to Neil deGrasse Tyson to debate me on the Big Bang anytime, which to me is total comedy because I'm a playwright and he's this incredible scientist guy. But I'm happy to be the guy that takes the fall. If he can show it that there was a Big Bang by any kind of scientific measure, great. I'll look like a fool. I don't care. But I can promise you that I can show that there was no Big Bang according to science, right? According to our science. Real science, not Neil just saying something, not Michio just saying something. There was no Big Bang. I can promise you I can show that evidentiarily. Is that a word? By the evidence, I can show there was no Big Bang. Then you go, well, if there was no Big Bang, what was there? The thing that makes sense. If you're 5 years old and you're growing up and you go, I wonder if the universe came into, you never say, I wonder if the universe came into being by a Big Bang. You'd go, of course everything's always been here. What do you mean? What are you talking about? A Big Bang. So our intuition is that the universe has always been here. Then you've got the universities going, nope, we're going to jam this down your throat.
That it had to start somehow, right?
Yeah. So then you go, if there wasn't a Big Bang, and I know that's a leap in today's climate, scientific climate, but let's just hypothesize for a moment. There was no Big Bang. Then the advanced civilizations that are presently either all around us or inside the earth or all of the above had an infinite amount of time since their own creation, since their own birth in the universe, to advance technologically. Then so many more things make sense. Because if there was only a certain number of billion years for all the species that we are starting to find out about to advance, then how did they do that? Why are we so slow compared to them, and yet they didn't really have the time to become that advanced unless their civilization got born on the first day of the Big Bang, which obviously ain't going to happen. So in other words, the lack of a Big Bang gives us infinite time in the past for advanced species to advance. I mean, to me, it all makes sense, but that's just a sort of a corroborating fact. And of course, people have to also make the leap that there are advanced sort of ET species or inner Earth species or extra-dimensional species, and not everybody's willing to do that either. But like I said, I'm happy to debate either Michio or Neil on the Big Bang. I can show that science says that there was no Big Bang. And then if Neil wants to show that science says there was a Big Bang, that's up to him. But I can hold my own on the other side.
Yeah, I've thought about that too. I'm like, why are they trying to explain a Big Bang? What if that's just something that we feel has to be necessary? Maybe we're talking about a place that time doesn't exist, kind of. But at the same time, then they have this cosmic microwave background that they say that proves that everything's expanding from one point. You got any thoughts on that? Have you looked at that?
I don't want to give Neil all my ammunition up front. Darn it. I'm going to save some things for our debate. So I'm hoping he'll email me. I'm starting to lose my ability to speak. So let's, do you want to talk about Tesla real quick?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we got a few minutes left. Let's do that.
All right. So there's some things about Nikola Tesla that most people don't know. And you can find evidence that he was not, that he didn't die peacefully in his sleep in the New Yorker hotel in New York City, but that he was assassinated, and that the two men who did that were Otto Skorzeny and Reinhard Gehlen, and that they worked for the Bushes, who had something called the Office of Strategic Services, which is another one of those, fake names that they make up to hide what specific, nefarious activities they're doing. The people, the bankers behind all this. So they've got this Office for Strategic Services, the OSS. These two guys worked for that office. They were sent to disappear Nikola so that they could take his research, and that's what they did. Now, these two guys play roles in my play about Nikola Tesla, which is it's a dream. The entire play takes place in the dream. It's a full-length drama written for the stage. It's new, and it's in 6 different languages, and it's ready to go in any theater in those languages: English, Russian, Ukrainian, Croatian, and Serbian, and Portuguese. Now, these two guys who killed Nikola Tesla are in this play. They play substantial roles. All of it takes place in a dream, so all of the dialogue is fictional, but there are some touchstones in reality that are key touchstones and most people don't know. So if people realize that he was assassinated, then they might go, oh my God, I wonder why they did that. And then they'll start doing research. If they go, oh, he just died peacefully in his sleep, I guess everything's fine. No need to research him.
Right.
But again, somebody's murdering somebody. Why are they doing that? Oh, let's research that. So to me, it brings attention to it. To Tesla, which is, he's on, as you know, he's on fire on the internet. He's the most, in my opinion, this is just opinion, I didn't do a poll or anything, but he's the most talked about subject on the internet, Tesla. He's just endlessly, everybody's talking about Nikola Tesla for many, many different reasons. And so I would just say, let's keep researching his research and wondering why some of it's been buried and going after the stuff that's been buried, because that's probably going to be some of the coolest stuff there is.
Yeah, I mean, free energy would be nice, right? Alternating current, free energy. But I think once someone realizes, look, we got companies, let's just look at it this way too. We've got actual companies that tried to patent water, not drinking water, water. I mean, Coca-Cola literally tried that. They attempted that. When you get in that capitalist, super capitalist mindset to where let's just patent this. Bad things happen. Oil was the only thing that actually, I believe, oil and energy are the two biggest things that control the earth right now as far as money goes. I mean, so if some guy comes up with a way where everybody can have free energy, not to mention all the other stuff that he was finding out about teleportation and, the ether, so to speak. Yeah. Once you realize that that's about to happen and you are working on creating an energetic empire, sure, I can see an evil person taking them out, you know?
Wow, an energetic empire. That's a phrase right there.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have to pay money for energy that literally that's ridiculous. I think by now we should see how ridiculous that is, that we messed up somewhere, because there's so much energy that's just from the sun and wind alone, from the sun, for God's sake. And then the electricity and alternating current, it's just stupid. It's stupid. We're not as evolved as we think we are. We've got artificial intelligence and stuff about to come out, but we can't even figure out how to get free energy or structure it in a way that would help everybody, because it doesn't work for capitalists. It doesn't work for the businesses. And those are the people running the world. I mean, look, oil's still here. You've seen what happened when we tried to go against that. So we need more rich people that are willing to go against them, like Musk and stuff, where they build a car that says, you know, I don't care, you're not going to stop me. And yeah, he's kind of crazy. You know, he made flamethrowers and stuff. But I think we need more people like that.
Well, the Serbian electrical engineer Goran Marjanovic and a Croatian researcher Domagoj Nikolic both talk about Tesla towers as analogous to the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun in the Bosnian Pyramid complex. So what if the ancients were doing just what Tesla did? Or we could switch it around and say, what if Tesla was doing just what the ancients did? In other words, he was rediscovering this ancient wisdom about how to sort of channel energy in a way that can have it be used free for all.
Right. That's the money. That's the money right there. Yeah. So they've got coils, actually, people are working on. I saw a picture, one that Randy sent me from Texas. And I hope this stuff comes through, but it's obvious to me that any of this stuff is just going to keep getting shut down because there's too much. We're not talking billions of dollars here. It's bigger than that. There's just too much money and control involved with it. And it's not just in the U.S. It's international. It's big time. It's like these people don't even need money. Yeah. And if you think they're not willing to kill somebody, I mean, we all know that's not true either, that they are. But I think we all think about those things, Jock. We really do. And if you guys, there's a lot of other people like you, and I want to get more people on the show that want to talk about things like free energy, even biogeometry, where structures, not just pyramids, but just where you can actually structure a city or a village or something a certain way using sacred geometry, and energetically it does so much for the place. It's already been kind of proven in a lot of experiments. You don't hear about that stuff so much, but I think it's coming. I don't think they're going to be able to stop it.
I agree. And I just want to make one clarification a clarification for a potential issue, which is that sometimes when I post about a new play about Nikola Tesla, and I call it, and the title is I Dream the Woman Electric, which is based on Walt Whitman's I Sing the Body Electric, that poem. People are like, how dare you say that Nikola Tesla was thinking about a woman? That's not historically correct. And I'm like, well, the reason I put it in a dream was specifically to get around that issue, because he is a man. I mean, I still think of him as alive. I feel like he's my friend, so that's why I'm talking about him in the present tense. He was a man, and so I think it's okay to conjecture that a man might think about or dream about women, you know? And so I put it all in a dream without meaning any disrespect to the historical legacy of Nikola Tesla. I want to stick to the facts, and then, as a groundwork for the play, make a creative addition and that can draw attention to Nikola Tesla. In other words, I want people to enjoy the story of the dream, the possibility, this imaginative thing based in reality, based in history, and then go research Nikola Tesla. That's my goal. It's not to go, I'm going to change history with my play, and he was really into women, and So I just want to make that clear.
Sure.
That I always want to stay with the historical record. I always want to stay, and I want to inspire people and encourage people to always move forward with the scientific record. In other words, to make their addition to the scientific record, which is easy. All you got to do is put some evidence out there. Get a video camera, go dig in your yard, and whatever you find is evidence. And your theory about it, that's your theory about the evidence. And put that on YouTube. It's awesome. So we're all scientists. It's just a question of, whether we're going to let the so-called experts with the PhDs tell us about our world, or whether we're going to work together to find out what it really is.
I couldn't have said it better myself. whobuilttheearth.wordpress.com, American in Bosnia.wordpress.com, and at Jock Doubleday on Twitter is how you can follow Jock. And thank you so much for coming on Lighting the Void. I really do appreciate you making the effort to come out and talk with us and discuss these things. And hopefully my audience will go look at more of your research and what you've done, and it'll open their minds a little bit, right? That's the whole point. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe, and I really appreciate you. And I think, if people, actually my Twitter account was suspended about a year ago for some things. So
Really?
I'm not on Twitter anymore, but people can reach me through Bosnian Pyramid's YouTube channel. That's a really good channel for some Bosnian Pyramids science, or through my personal channel, Jock Doubleday on YouTube. But your show, I love the title of your show. I love the focus of your show, which is on evidence and questioning. This is what we need to do. If we can stay away from the rampant ego of I'm right and go toward here's some evidence for the global mind, I think that's going to help us a lot to get out of this well of ignorance we've been in for thousands and thousands of years.
I absolutely 100% agree. Again, I couldn't have said it better myself. And thanks again for coming on Lighting the Void. All of the show notes will be in the archives, as well as the links that he just brought up. Please don't copy this without written permission. That includes you YouTubers. And this was produced by The Fringe FM. Music was by Chronox. Guitar by Bundy. Big shout out to Pacho, Don, Lady Ann, Eric Markham, Jeremy Scott, and all of you in the Fringe FM chat. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. We are going to be speaking with Mr. Andy Thomas, thetruthagenda.org. Tomorrow night, same time. Good night.
The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the Fringe FM, KTLK Digital Broadcasting, its sponsors, affiliates, or staff. Listener discretion is advised.
Play it again, my Johnny. Let your song sigh. I would with